Okay. Looks like we are live. This is David Scott Peters with the restaurantexpert.com. I'm thrilled you're on today's webinar. We're going to be talking about stopping bleeding the labor dollars, right? Let's stop bleeding labor dollars. Let's start the next week on budget. I want to give people an opportunity to join us, and I want to let you know that before we get started, I've got a couple of my team members that will be joining us today. I've got Jenny Brooks and Greg Sauerbach. So as we go through the chat, as you guys come through, I'd love to hear a little bit about where you're from. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your restaurant if you put that in the chat window so I can gather that information, and I will do my best every now and then to look at the chat window, but I've got Jenny and Greg monitoring that so we can answer your questions as the webinar gets going on here. So any second now I'll get started. I want to thank everybody again for being online, being live here. I mean, this is new technology for me, and I'm quite honestly kind of thrilled to do so because I can look you in the eye versus just being a straight webinar and what have you. So I think I'm going to get us started here. I'm looking at, hey, thanks so much. Good to see you, Juan, Christopher. Hey, Jenny, glad you're on here for us. We've got people that are joining. So if you're on, this is social. This is going to give and take. So I want you to use the chat box. If I don't see your questions right away, what I'm going to do is Jenny's going to save them for the end of the webinar, and I'm going to answer each one of them. So let me kind of walk you through what we're going to do here. I'm going to switch my screen. And let me again welcome everybody. We're going to get started. This is David Scott Peters with the restaurantexpert.com, and I'm quite honestly thrilled that you are on today's webinar because this is one of my favorite systems. In fact, it's probably the most powerful system I teach. I'm going to give you the opportunity to stop bleeding your labor dollars before the week even ever starts, right? How do we do that? And I'm going to teach you what I call my favorite system in the whole world, and it's called the labor allotment system. But as we get started here, what I want to do is I kind of want to walk you through a little bit about my background, who I am, for those of you who don't know me. I grew up in my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey, where I worked for the toughest manager I know. Anybody here on this webinar worked for your mom? If so, put it on the chat box. I'll tell you, I did. I hated every minute of it. Now, while I hated it, why? Because I was a teenager. My mother said to my sister and I, you're going to work twice as hard as anybody else, because we don't want there to be any favoritism. Now, I hated that as a teenager. I was a teenager, but she did me a favor. As I grew and left our restaurant, worked for other restaurants, other companies, I rose every single job I had after very quickly because I had a work ethic like nobody else around me. I later took those skill sets and worked for a company called Coyote Springs Brewing Company and Cafe, early 90s, when brew pubs were opening one a week. Now, we're starting to see that resurgence right now. It's kind of exciting for a beer geek like me. Well, brew pubs are opening one a week. Our first location was a cash cow, hand over fist money. It was unbelievable. Our second location was much like a cash cow. Second location was much like a boat, only a hole in water in which you throw money. So while one was making it, the other one was losing it pretty strong. Now, I can tell you this. While we were making mistakes, while I looked at all this and said, where are the problems? This is where I created what I call my restaurant operational smart systems. The restaurant systems that are simple, measurable, applicable, repeatable, trainable. And the key with any system, it has to be simple or no one's going to use it. It has to be trainable or you'll get no one to use it. Now, I took those skill sets and I went to work for a company called Famous Sam's, a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain here in Arizona. As a franchisor, I was the director of operations. At an ops team, we opened 8 stores, we were going gangbusters, and the guys who bought the company damn near bankrupted it in under a year, just about a year. Well, as management left, I went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, Management, Human Resources, Wines and Spirits. Now, I'm not a culinary guy. I'm not a chef. I don't belong in a kitchen. I cannot cook. You don't even want to see my knife skills, man. You give me a chef knife and an onion, I smack that puppy. I'm taking that thick layer of onion and throwing that away. I suck. But while I am not a chef, I can run any one of your kitchens if I have the right systems in place. I can order based off par levels and budgets. I can schedule off the staffing guides and budgets. I can open and close every station based on checklists. I know the prep that needs to be done by day based on a checklist. See, I can run any one of your kitchens if I have the right systems in place, and that's where we need to get you. I embrace my chef and kitchen manager, and I love the artistic part they bring to the table, but you've got to understand they're managers. And sometimes they open their own restaurants. Sometimes they don't work out. Bar managers, GMs, the same. What I want to do is make sure I have my system, my process, my way. So as we move on, I'm always training replacements. And for good or bad reasons, if people move on, my restaurant still works. Well, as I was teaching at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, I was consulting. And the minority shareholders of Famous Sam's asked me to come back as they took over the company. I kept saying no, no, no. And about 1 month before my first child was born, they said, come back, come back. I said, okay. I walked into a disaster. Company should have been bankrupt. It was over. But instead, I was given a goal to turn the company around and sell it in 5 years. You know what? I missed that goal by 3 months. I know what it is to be an independent operator. I know what makes the chain successful. It's my job to give you the same systems and tools that chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests. We love our employees. But we are going to do what they do well, and that's what? Make money. So that's kind of about me. Now let's talk a little bit about what we're doing next. What are we going to learn here? Well, I'm going to teach you a little bit about why systems are critical to your management team. How do we control the labor? How to budget your labor to make sure you go into the week on budget. Instead of scheduling and praying you're busy and cutting people when you're slow, which is too late, by the way, we're going into the week on budget. How do you know if you have enough staff? We're going to talk about scheduling and how we do that and how we put the right people in the right places. So it's an intense, about 30, 40 minutes I'm going to be teaching. And then for those of you who are interested, I'm going to go into our software and I'm going to show you how easily this can be done. Now, before I go any further, do me a favor. You're on the webinar right now. Subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe button right now because you know what it's going to do? We're producing at least 2 video tips every single week. And I want that feed to come to you that I can help you change your business, get your life back, make more money, have managers know what the job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, by when. So subscribe now. Now let's get going here. To be successful in the restaurant business, you've got to understand that you need 3 skill sets to be successful. The first one is your qualitative skills. That's your gut feel. You know your business because you walk the circle. Tom Peters, no relation to me, if you remember in the early 90s, wrote management books, calls it management by wandering around. You know your business because you touch tables, because you placed an order, because you told somebody what to do, you sat a guest, whatever it may be. All too often, restaurateurs, we use our gut and our bank accounts to run our business, and that doesn't work anymore. The climate has changed. And that's where we add our next skill set, and that's what? That's our quantitative skills. That's the number side of the business. The only challenge is you see somebody like me speak. I speak all over the country. Over the last 3 weeks, I've been in 3 different states speaking. And you might see somebody like me speak at a show and say the average restaurant, based on the National Restaurant Association's benchmarks, averages, the average food cost for a full-service restaurant is 34%. You grab a hold of that, go home and say, Chef, 34%, 34%. Who the hell said that was your number? Right? What if your number was 38 and you're trying to hit 34? Well, that means your chef has to cheat the guest, reduce portion sizes, buy cheaper product, cut you out of business. What if you're patting yourself on the back because you did a great job, hit 34%, but based on recipe costing cards and your ideal mix, your real food cost should be 28%, and you're losing thousands of dollars every single month. So it's important for us to have the right systems in place and the right numbers. Numbers are important, but I'm not so excited about industry averages. Come see me on my channel and I'll teach you what prime cost is. That's the one number you must know. Now, the next piece is solid training. Doesn't matter how good your stuff is. If you can't train people to do it, nobody's going to do it. So what happens now? I need systems. Why do systems? Why are they so important? Well, first of all, they give me the quantifiable goals, the number side of the business. What are your numbers? What should your food cost be? What should your labor cost be by position? Right? They give our management team the goals to shoot for to make sure your restaurant's successful. Trainable results. See, when you have a system, a process, a way to doing anything, you have quantifiable numbers, goals to shoot for, you know what systems to put in place to train people to achieve those numbers. Last but not least, my favorite part about systems. What I love about systems, they take the personalities out. They take the personalities out. What do I mean by that? Well, I don't care if you're a bully manager, right? Rules written by me for you to follow. Actually, I do. I think you should be beaten and flogged at the stake. We have no room for bullies. But let's say you're a bully. I don't care if you're a jellyfish. What's a jellyfish? It's that bartender, server, line cook that you just promoted to management as a supervisor, still going out with their friends because they want them to like them, went out drinking with them last night, threw up in a buddy's car, next day asked them to do something, and they won't do it because they need them to respect them. Well, it's a jellyfish because they have to crystallize a spine, right? Well, I hope you're a head coach, somebody right in the middle, somebody who understands the needs for systems, but more importantly, understands I need everybody. I can't do all this myself. I need help. Now, it doesn't matter where you come on that spectrum. Why? Because if I have the right systems in place, I can walk into the office, grab the inventory, you did it or you didn't. Grab the manager checklist, you did it or you didn't. Perpetual inventory, purchase allotment, labor allotment, you followed the systems or you didn't. It's black and white. I can train you what the job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, by when, and I can hold you accountable, meaning answerable to what you were hired to do, what you were trained to do. So systems, they take that conflict out of the business. You know, sometimes we get to our back door and we take a deep breath, right? Before we grab the knob, we go, we open the door. If you're doing that, we've got real problems. When everybody's getting at you, right? You're having struggles and your heart's kind of palpitating because you think when you walk in the door there's going to be a conflict. Well, guess what? The systems take that out. Because if I trained you what the job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, by when you haven't done something, like taking inventory every Sunday for the last 3 months, and you miss it this Sunday, I go, hey, where's your inventory? Are you going to fight me? Oh, man, why you make me do that? You never make anybody else do it. Wrong. They're going to look at you and go, I'm sorry. They're never going to let it happen again. And oh, by the way, I may have to, punish them, meaning write them up. Now, let's get back to the slides here. This slide, this is what's called a master schedule. We have to, before we can get to the point of saving money, we have to systemize our scheduling that anybody can write a schedule. See, all too often when I go to these shows, I see people sitting out there and I go, I bet you're sitting here right now, and to leave your restaurant, you had to write the next 2 weeks' schedules because you're the only one who knows how to write the schedule. That's not a system. That's being a prisoner to your business. How many of you, right now in the chat window, how many of you are writing your own schedules for the whole restaurant? And otherwise, how many of you have been assigned a department, a position, and you're responsible just for that? But more importantly, if that's happening, is somebody above you making sure it's written for the needs of the business, needs of the employee, and it's on budget? There's the kicker right there, right? It's not scheduling like I always do, but is it on budget? So what I'm going to show you right here, this is called a master schedule. A master schedule is the cheat sheet for writing next week's schedule. I don't care about the past. It's really what people can and cannot work, how many shifts they prefer to work. All right? So if we look at this slide, Wendy down to Kim. Wendy at the top might be a supervisor, then Bill might be a trainer, and the rest by seniority. Now, what is seniority good for? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But maybe a schedule request. If somebody sucks, you had better be telling them and correcting them and helping them become better, or why the hell are they on the schedule? Right? What I don't want you to do is move them down the schedule and de-hire them. Right? That's the wimpy way to work in our restaurant business. Everybody should know how they're doing every single day. But seniority is important to people. If you ever move somebody down the seniority ladder, man, they get pissed off as you move them to the bottom of the schedule. Hey, man, I've been here longer, so on and so forth. So don't do it. Either stay alphabetically or follow my lead and go supervisor, trainer, then by seniority. Then you see Monday through Sunday. This assumes a Monday through Sunday work week. You might have a Tuesday through Monday. Does not matter. First day of the work week to the last day. I'm going to recommend Monday through Sunday. You'll notice Wendy has AM, 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 AM. What does that mean? Wendy can only work the AM shift. You've got PM for Tanya on Tuesday and Wednesday. What does that mean? She can only work the PM shift on Tuesday and Wednesday. You're following me here? Then we've got days that are grayed out. Those are days they cannot work. Days with asterisks. The asterisk, in our software, we call it open. It means they can work any shift that day, including split shifts. If you bring them in, send them home, bring them back. Now, there's AM/PM and AM/asterisk, asterisk/PM. What do those mean? If it's AM, means prefers to work the AM shift, but from time to time, if you need me, I can work the PM shift. If it's asterisk/PM, PM shift, but from time to time, if you need me, I can work the AM shift. The key here is not overworking people. Don't keep requiring them because they're available the opposite shift that they prefer. Don't keep scheduling there. then you're proving to them that you don't care about them. So we want to make sure that we're following it, but from time to time, we might need them when somebody's on vacation, whatever, and they're fine with that. Now, what does this do? It allows me to have a cheat sheet that anybody can write next week's schedule, right? I know what my availability is. Well, we're going to add a couple pieces to that. Then we look on the outside margin, we see totals, 5, 5, 4, 2, 3. That's how many shifts they can work. Now, this is really important because how many times have you been asked, do you have enough employees? I'm going to show you how to answer that with confidence. That when somebody gets thrown in jail or somebody breaks down the server alley on a Friday night during happy hour and walks off the job, you're not running around like a chicken with your head cut off because you have enough people. I'll talk about that in a second because I first have to define, if you look at the bottom of this screen, it says full-time equivalent, FTE. Now, what is a full-time equivalent? A full-time equivalent isn't the one for mandated health care. Right? That's different. We're lowering the threshold for hours there. This is based on manufacturing in the old days. And that's when it was 40 hours a week for a manufacturing business. So if I had an employee work 40 hours a week, that's one full-timer. If I had somebody work 20 hours a week, another 20 hours a week, together, that's 40 hours or the equivalent of one full-time person. Right? So again, no problem. I have somebody work 3 shifts, 30 hours, somebody works 10 hours, together that's 40 or one full-time equivalent. Now that works fantastic for hourly employees, meaning our kitchen, right? They get paid by the hour. If you're a full-service restaurant, the Sally the server, who thank the Lord will work Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., will she ever make 40 hours in a week? Hell no, right? But thank the Lord we have her. So what we do for tipped employees, we switch it to 5 shifts. If you have an employee that works 3 shifts, another works 2, together that's 5, or the equivalent of one full-time person. So that way we can work things out. We can make this system work whether you've got tipped employees or all strictly hourly. Hourly is total number of hours divided by 40 to come up with the number of FTEs. For tipped employees, it's number of shifts divided by 5 tells me how many FTEs I have. Now, how's that valuable? Well, I said a moment ago, have you ever asked your managers, do you have enough employees? And they say yes, and then somebody quits or whatever, and you're running around, you're short-staffed. I'm going to teach you to have 2 FTEs more than you need, 2 FTEs more than you need in each position, so that when somebody quits or gets fired, we're not making that same mistake every single time. You know, when you need somebody, especially, let's say a line cook, tough to come by. We lose line cook, we're understaffed. What do I do? Oh my gosh, somebody walks in the door, they fog a mirror, right? They're alive, they have a pulse, anybody will do. We hire them, we give them the magic apron, bring, we're so ecstatic. We've got a cook, we fixed it. Well, guess what? You've got that guy, that woman on your team right now. And you thought 6 months into it, you go, damn it, I did it again. I cannot wait to fire this idiot. Well, the truth of the matter is you created that person. And the truth of the matter is they should have never been hired on your team because they didn't ever fit your company culture. So how about we get to a point where we have 2 FTEs more than we need in each position so that when somebody quits or get fired, and oh, by the way, there's always somebody on vacation, there's always somebody in jail, there's always somebody who wants flexibility in our business, right? What other business allows you to change your schedule almost overnight? Not many that I know of, maybe nursing. And that's one of the major reasons people work for us is flexibility. Well, when you have that kind of flexibility, there's going to be all these ebbs and flows. I always have enough people. Even if somebody quits or gets fired, I can cover my 40-hour shifts. I can cover my 5 shifts. I can take care of the needs of the business, find the right person, train the right person, make sure they're right for our culture before they ever hit the floor. That's critical to our business. So understand one other thing. I'm going to show you how we affect that FTE in the next slide. How we know when we look back on our master schedule we have enough people. But the fact of the matter is the numbers can lie. You do have to make sure they can work your Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, right? You've got to make sure they have the right availability for your business, that they're not all stacked on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, because we have all these tillers in our business, right? They're working here until they get a real job, because Lord only knows what you do is not real work. You know what I'm saying? They're here until they get the broker license, until they become an actor, until they get their teaching certificate, until. Well, the fact of the matter is we need them. We are an industry of part-timers in many respects. So if we look at this master schedule, what it tells me is what the availability is for next week. Do know I don't care about last week. As soon as somebody gives you an update to their master schedule, you change it. Who cares about the past? It's all about next week. So what we do is we add to that our schedule. Now, when we look at this cook schedule, I want you to look down at the bottom. There's an AM and a PM. That's called a master schedule, or sorry, a staffing key or staffing guide. How many cooks do I need in the AM? How many cooks do I need in the PM to schedule? Well, all of a sudden, if I go back to the other screen, I know what people's availability are, how many shifts they can and cannot work, or, right, I know whether I can cover this. Well, I have 2 AM, 2 PM, but if you look real hard, you'll see that there are only 3 people scheduled on Monday, right? I need 2 AM cooks, 2 PM cooks. There's only 3 people scheduled. How does that work? Well, I've got this thing called 11 to 8, 11 to 7. That's a mid shift. That is a cheat in the front of house. It's a efficiency in the back of house. I'll talk about that. Well, if I need, do I need 2 cooks to open my line in this very small restaurant? Very small restaurant, right? If I only need 3 cooks in a day, very small. But it gives a great illustration when you look at FTEs. Because I've got one cook coming in to open up the line at 9 o'clock in the morning, and just before the lunch rush, it's all set up. I bring in the next cook for efficiencies, and oh, by the way, instead of picking our butts in between lunch rush and dinner, what do? I have them doing prep. Then the daytime guy goes, right as the daytime goes, the nighttime closer comes in, and that middle guy, that mid shift is still working. He or she's still working. So I still have 2 cooks in the AM, 2 cooks in the PM, and as the shift runs down past happy hour or dinner rush, I cut that other cook and I close with 1. That's being efficient with my hours. So I do know I need 2 cooks on the line, but I don't need 4 cooks in a day. Now, I don't like that for my front of house employees, servers. Why? They're salespeople, right? You ever look at an employee and look as they walk in the door, think that they sleep in their uniform? Well, often these people do. They work the day shift, go home, sleep. Better yet, they drink and sleep, and then they come back to work all messed up. You're right, that's a split shift. What if it's a 11 to 7, 11 to 8? What happens then? Well, now they walk in the door, they have their ass kicked, record lunch, and when do most restaurants fail? Between the hours of 1 and 3, 2 and 4, depending on the business. And what happens? Server goes into low gear, right? Oh, has a smoke, can't be seen. Customers are out front, like, am I supposed to seat myself? Anybody here? Right? It's horrible sometimes. Well, now, 4 o'clock, in comes all the servers for the night shift. They got great smiles on the face, they're clean, crisp uniforms, great attitudes. They walk in, hey man, how was the day? That server that worked lunch rush, which was a record, had their ass kicked, goes, oh my gosh, we had our ass kicked, oh my goodness. Right? Pre-shift happens, lineup, whatever you want to call it. We give today's specials, we go through new rules and policies, here's your sections. Click. Right? It's like when I lived in Boston, you turn on the light and all the roaches in the kitchen disappear. All your employees at the end of pre-shift, boom, gone. Well, here's moseying on that one server that's just exhausted. Comes up to their first table and goes, what can I get you? Are you shitting me? They're a polished turd. I want a bright salesperson on my team. I want them out there. Look, I understand some of you are in labor markets where it's hard to find people. You have to do doubles. You have to do split shifts. You have to do mid shifts. But whenever possible, do your very, very best to build your team that you don't do that. When those kinds of positions, I need salespeople. Now, if you look at this, I've got 9 to 5, 9 to 5, 11 to 8, 11 to 8. Oh, I got this 5 to close. What is that? Well, often, I don't want employees to know what time they get off. So I'll use something like 5 to close for nighttime, or a 9 a.m. to phase, 11 a.m. to phase, whatever that means, meaning when business slows down. What I want in this 5 to close example is I want every employee showing up thinking they're going to close. Think about it. How many times have you had a fry cook or a busser or a bartender come up to you and go, hey man, can I go home? Can I go home? Can I go home? Right? And you finally give in and say, okay, clock out. Now they're riding the time clock. You're pushing them. Come on, man. You said you wanted to go. Let's get your side work done. Right? What? That's one thing. But then they show up at, let's say it says 5 to 10. Same process happens. 10 o'clock, I'm ready to go home. But you had that proverbial bus pull up, right, of all the athletes. They actually showed up 10 minutes early, and you're railed. Tickets are railed. And you're like, line cook's like, I want to go home. I'm ready. Check me out. I did my side work. They're like, dude, we're railed. They're like, dude, schedule says 10. I've got plans. Like, you're kidding me. So how about we get that wiped out? Now, the manager will see 5 to 10. The employee sees 5 to close, 5 to phase, 5 till, whatever terms you want to use. The bottom line is you're working here to close. Everybody thinks close, but the manager knows if sales are where they're supposed to be, I know who to cut at what time. If sales are slower, I'm going to cut faster. If sales are up, kind of like the proverbial bus and we're railed, I can keep people, no problem. So I'm leaving myself breadcrumbs and keeping everybody honest, meaning everybody's here to close. Now, if you look at this, I added up hours on the outside column, 40, 40, 32, down to 10. Now, this is a line cook. Line cooks paid by tips? No, they're paid hourly. So if I look at this, 227 hours are scheduled. How many FTEs do I need? Divide that by what? 40. It says this schedule requires 5.68 FTEs. Well, remember the master schedule? How many cooks should I have on my master schedule? 2 more, right? There should be 7, almost 8. That makes it easy for me. Just remember, they got to be available the shifts you need people. The number can lie if they're all working available on days that you don't need anybody. Now, this is extremely powerful. Now we go a step further. Look at the bottom. I have $500 to $1,500. I put the sales under each day. Now, this is kind of a double-edged sword. Why do I want to do that? Well, efficiencies, right? I want to know if I'm going to be busy, I need more people. But it can lie. It can lie. Think about it. You had your ass handed to you on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Just unbelievable. You've got all this prep to do. Your kitchen is wiped out and all this prep to do Monday morning. Or you're not making it through the next couple days. It's your slowest sales day of the week. But you've got all this labor stacking up. So understand that, it's not always the way we need people. You need to schedule for the needs of the business. And I'm going to show you in a little bit how you can use the hours necessary, still be over budget on a Monday, because on a Friday, you're going to be super efficient. Your customers are going to manage your efficiency. You're going to be on a wait. You can't add another cook to the line, another cashier, another server, another host, anybody. So all of a sudden in those days, my labor cost drops through the floor. So we want to pay attention to using the hours that are necessary for our business. So if we look at this, I'm going to go to the next schedule, and I've got my cooks, at the bottom of it, I should say. I've got my wages, and do know we've got $15 minimum wages happening across the country right now from coast to coast, and they're squeezing in. It's coming. Well, in this case, I paid $12.50 for John, 40 hours worked. 40 times $12.50 is $500. Add up the number of hours, 181 hours. Add up the dollars, $2,324. Boom, easy enough. Now we've got our server schedule. I told you I don't like mid shifts, but I'll use them if I have to. Go through the same process, and now I have 43 shifts. I divide 43 shifts by 5 because they're tipped employees. Come up, I need 8.6 FTEs. Now, so that's what this uses. What do I need on my master schedule? I need 10, almost 11 FTEs. You get the idea? All of a sudden, you can make sure you have enough trained and ready people. Because before you worry about having about 2 people more than you need, thinking you're going to freak out, isn't there every week somebody going to a concert, somebody going on vacation, somebody in jail? Right? Bottom line is, you will be fine. But better yet, when you lose somebody, you breathe easy because you've got a trained person ready to go. You're not putting out rookies like there's no tomorrow, ill-prepared. Do the same thing, take their hourly wage, and this is obviously a tip credit state. You might find this in Georgia. I know those of you in California and New York looking at this wanting to vomit at $15, depending on the city you're in, New York City, Los Angeles, $15 minimum wage right now. Holy crap. But here I might be in Atlanta, Georgia, still be able to pay $2.13 an hour. Add up the hours, add up the dollars, 282 hours, $635. Well, go through, bar schedule. Now, bartenders, hosts, busters, dishwashers, no way you're going to have 2 FTEs more than you need. That's going to be impossible, right? So what I want to do is make sure you start cross-training. Cross-train servers for bar, servers for host, dishwashers, and barbacks, busters, and dishwashers cross-train to each other's position. We may not need to have so many on staff, but that they can cross-train. If somebody's on vacation, somebody can fill in that gap. Now we go through the same process. I'll go through this quickly. We add up again, same thing, number of hours, number of dollars spent, and we come up to totals. Cooks, $2,324. Servers, $635. Bar, $635. GM. General manager, assistant manager. What are those? Generally speaking, those are salaried managers. So it doesn't matter whether I bring in $100,000 this week or I bring in $1. I'm going to owe them those wages. So understand there's a difference. There's fixed and variable expenses. Variable go up and down with sales. That's my hourly employees, which include hourly supervisors. And then I've got my fixed expense, which is my general manager, my assistant manager, if they're salaried. Now I add up all the wages. I come up with $5,595 for my forecasted sales for next week, right? I'm planning next week. I grab my forecasted sales of $20,000, use divided by sales, same exact equation as we have for food cost. Use divided by sales, this produces a 27.98% labor cost. Now, let me be clear about something. While that's a 27, almost 28% labor cost, what does it not include? It does not include taxes, benefits, insurance. They're a part of labor cost too. So it's our raw labor cost, the ring at the register, like if I pay a cook $10 an hour and they punch in and punch out for 1 hour, do I owe them $10? Is that what comes out of my bank account? Owners. No, $12, $13, $14 comes out of your bank account. Why? Because there's taxes, benefits, insurance. So understand when you look at this number, you've got to figure out what that additional cost is, because those of you who know prime cost, we're shooting for 55% prime cost, total cost of goods sold plus total labor cost. Well, if 3-4 points of that is taxes, benefits, insurance, we have to reduce what managers can control, because they're not going to track FICA SUI limits that an employee came up with, or they paid too much Social Security, how many deductions they have, or what have you. So we want to make sure they can measure or monitor, control based on the wages they get paid, $10, $12, $15 an hour, not including taxes, benefits, insurance. But do understand your true labor cost in this case, as I go back to the screen, your true labor cost is not 27.98%. That's your raw labor cost. You may have 3-4 points added to this, and that's your true labor cost. But again, management cannot control that. So, all right, great. I wrote my schedule like I always do. Isn't that what we do? We write our schedule like we always do. We don't really pay attention to if sales are going up or sailing down, but here's what we do. What I want to do is change that so that you can take control, go into next week on budget. So you can go into next week on budget. So look at this. I have a $200,000 month. I'm forecasting, let's call it a 4-week period, $50,000 this week. I'm going to show maximum coverage. I'm going to use every hour I have. 30% labor costs, not including taxes, benefits, insurance. On my budget, this may be a 34% labor cost. But again, we reduce it to what managers can control. 30% labor costs, and then I've got this average hourly wage, $7.45. So here's a writer-downer, right? Get a pen, a paper, write this down, or what I'm about to teach you is going to kick your ass, and you're going to hate me. It will not work for you. You have to do this one thing before you start using this system. Go back to your POS system, audit your timekeeping, meaning make sure people are on the right job codes, right pay rates. Think about it. If you hired me as a line cook 5 years ago at $10 an hour, I'm getting paid $13.50 today. Does your POS system say $13.50? No. You call your payroll company, you up it. You just report the number of hours I worked. You use my timekeeping in the POS just for hours. Well, that's not going to work for us. For this system, you have to make sure if I'm at $13.50 an hour, it's there. And oh, by the way, if I'm a prep cook and a line cook, even if it's on the same shift, you have to put me in 2 positions. That way, I punch in as a prep cook at $13.50, punch back in as a line cook $13.50, work in the same shift. It allows me to see my efficiencies. Where am I spending my labor dollars? So do know, right positions, right pay rates. Somebody's a server trainer, 2 different pay rates. Let's make sure that's right. Now, if you do that today, you have to wait not until next week, the week after, in order to use this system. You have to wait till there's a full Monday through Sunday that everybody's in the right job codes, right positions, right pay rates. Make sense? Otherwise, this will not work. It's a database, your POS system. If you change it today, it doesn't change the beginning of the week. You have to wait till there's a full week. Now, once you've done that, you can sit there. We're going to answer these questions. Don't worry, I'm not going to read them all because we're going to do them one at a time. So the first thing we're going to do, if we've got our timekeeping all set, because remember, your timekeeping in your POS system is the gold standard for your payroll. We work towards making sure every manager ensures everybody's clocked in at the right job code, right pay rate, right number of hours and minutes, don't we? Right? Every single day. So if that's our gold standard, I want you to go to your point of sale system and I want you to run something called a labor summary report. Now, if you look at this, it's servers, bartenders, hosts, so on and so forth. It's by position, not by person. We've got total regular hours, total pay, overtime hours, overtime pay, and then total hours, total pay. That's all it is the summary for all the hours worked last week and how much we spent. Then it totals it all up. Why? Because I don't care whether it was overtime or not. What was the total number of hours worked and the total amount of money I spent? Why? Many of you may have somebody on your team, say Jose, works overtime every single week for you because you don't want him to work another restaurant. You've determined that's what's best for you and your business. So we tend to schedule the same people, same shifts week after week, don't we? Even if it's overtime. Well, that's kind of how this is going to work. If you look at this, I've got 632 hours worked for servers, $3,273 in pay. If I total them up, I have $1,387 in hours, $10,329. Well, divide $1,387 into $329. I have an average hourly wage, bottom right-hand side, $7.45. We're going to use that number to schedule next week on budget. It's amazing. Why does it work? Look at this. I've got an average wage column, second from the right, $5.15 down to $11.46. Well, those are the average hourly wages by position. We're going to use those in a second, but overall, $7.45. It's like menu mix. If you understand menu mix, it's a weighted average based on what our customers actually order. Well, this is how we use our people. Now, you also notice 3 columns from the right, hourly, percentage. Notice it's 45.6% is in the first line for servers. That's 632 total hours for servers divided into 1,387 total hours worked, use into total, says that servers worked 45.6% of all hours worked last week. So let me ask you a question. If I have 1,000 hours allocated for next week to be on budget, how many should servers get? 45.6%, right? And make sure as our sales go up and down, we're still staffing according to our needs to be able to handle the business come in by each position. So now, let's look at this. Remember, we have a $50,000 week, a 30% labor cost, $3,000 for fixed expense, $7.45 average hourly wage. So let's find out how much money we have. $50,000 week times our budget of 30%, not including taxes, benefits, insurance. Remember, this would be a 33, 34% on your budget, but managers can't control that. 30% times $50,000 gives me $15,000. Easy enough, right? Now, managers, fixed or variable? Fixed. So I take $15,000, subtract $3,000, I have $12,000 available. Now think about this. What if I had $20,000 available? 20 minus 3, oh, wait a second, 20 minus 3, I've got what? $17,000 that I could spend on my hourly people. What if I only had $10,000? 10,000 minus 3,000 fixed expense, I have 7,000. And that's where you as operators go, oh my God, you're out of season. You get that bag. You want to hyperventilate. Oh my God, I don't have enough money. Well, one of the things that I teach in our labor system, that we teach, is with a budget, you're going to find that you don't have the same labor cost every single month. In the off season, because you don't want to lay people off, you may run a 38% labor cost, but in season you might run 22%. For the year, our target might be 30. So it's very, very important that we have a budget and we know the seasonality of our business, what we can do, because there are certain times in the off season, if you're seasonal, that this crushes you. And you're like, there's no way I can make it. So do understand that our labor target is going to change from month to month. So I have $12,000. How many hours do I have? Remember, the average hourly wage is $7.45. $7.45 divided by $12,000 says I have 1,610 hours. Now, this is not hard yet, is it? No, it's not. Well, how many hours do I have? Remember, $7.45 divided by 12 grand, 1,610 hours. How many hours did my servers work last week? 45.6. How many do they get of this? 45.6% of them. So now I go back and I take that last week's percentage, 45.6, Multiply that into 1,610, I have 733 hours. Do that for each position, total it all up, make sure it's 1,610, bang. I can tell my managers not only how much money they have to spend, but how many hours. Let's look at the money. Do you remember the average hourly wage for a server was $5.15? I think it was $11.37 for cooks. Take the hours I've allocated of 733 times $5.18 for my servers, and I'm going to pay out $3,801. No taxes, no benefits, no insurance, but raw labor cost. That's what they can control. Look for my cooks, $11.46. I was a little bit off there. Times 405, $4,600. Total it all up, $11,995. Done. I budgeted on the right-hand side $12,000. I'm $5 off. Crucify me. Why am I $5 off? Because when I did this, I used a calculator. And you know, with a calculator, there's not what you're going to find in my software or a spreadsheet. And that's a decimal point that goes on forever that you don't see. Who here on this call right now would be pissed off if I gave you this tool and you're going to schedule $5 over budget or under budget? Who cares, right? I'm about to give you a tool that instead of scheduling like you always do, right? Instead of scheduling like you always do, and have 7 servers come in and play grab ass at the time clock, and then it's slow. 3 hours later, you send people home. It's too late. Tick, 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 you owe. Instead, I'm going to recognize my sales are forecasted to be lower next week. I scheduled like I always do, and I need to trim 10 hours throughout the week. So maybe I bring in 2 servers to set at the restaurant at 4, 1 at 4:30, the rest at 5:30. That doesn't sound like a lot, but owners, every time the clock goes tick, whose money is it? It's yours. Why do I need them standing around talking to each other? How about bringing them in and still have 7 servers to handle the business I need? This is incredible. Now, what am I going to do? Well, later, for those of you who are going to stick around so I can show you how easy this can be done using our software, notice here, I wrote the schedule like I always do. I have budgeted wages and actual wages. Budgeted hours, actual hours. Well, my actual hours come from the schedule I actually wrote, like I always do. My budgeted hours are the ones the allotment gave me. Now, you'll notice for line cook in this example, it's gross. I'm going to show you one's much easier when we do the live demo. I'm 28 hours over. What the hell? Maybe I was going into season and I should have had a higher labor budget to give me more hours. Maybe people got double scheduled. Maybe somebody fell asleep. I don't know what it is. But as a manager, think about this. If you're, as a general manager or owner, giving up scheduling, you don't want to give up control. You want to make sure somebody can do their job, though. Give them the authority to do their job. So they write their schedule like they always do. The manager, GM or owner, does the allotment. The manager logs in and sees I'm 28 hours over, I'm 2 hours over, I'm 8 hours under. I forgot to schedule somebody. And my job as a manager is to get that number to 0. Start editing my schedule to reduce the hours where they're not going to impact the business. Get it to 0. Then I'm going to text message you, call you, or tap you on the shoulder and say my schedule's ready for you to approve or deny. And if I screw up somewhere, guess what you get to do? Not fix it. You say, here's what I need changed, and you fix it. All of a sudden, you're getting people to do more without giving up control or giving up your checkbook. This is huge. Right? Because I know what people can and cannot work. I know how many shifts they prefer to work. I know what my staffing needs are in the AM, the PM. And I now know what my budget is. And I can tie them all together, that this puzzle isn't just a puzzle to fill. It's a puzzle that also is supposed to set us up to make money. Go into the week on budget instead of bringing everybody in and praying that we're busy. This is huge. This is probably some of the best stuff I have. And if you didn't notice, it's freaking easy. That's the crazy part about it. So what did we cover? We covered why systems are critical, how to budget for labor, have enough people, how to schedule the right people. Now, I want you to stick around. Those of you who want to learn how to do this easier, I'm going to show you right now how you can do this inside our software. So let me escape out of here, go into a web page. Now, this is Smart Systems Pro. Some of you are my members. You're already using this. So if you're sticking around, maybe you're getting an update. For those of you who are not, let me show you how easy this is in our software. I'm only going to take a few minutes to do this. We're an online management tool. So as long as you have an iPad, a computer, Droid, I don't care what it is, internet access, and a web browser, you have access to your systems. The whole idea is put your numbers in once, tie all of your systems together, hold management accountable. So I'm going to log into the system here, and this is going to bring into our demo company. Now you notice we do everything from daily paperwork, labor systems, food, beverage, retail, prime cost, budget variances. We've got it all in here. But right now we're just focused on what we just learned. I'm going to go into my labor systems. I've got my employees, and in my employees I can click on them, and down below it'll show what positions they work. So as I come down here to Addison Bell, line cook, and I could quickly add a second position, second pay rate, doesn't matter, and have that in. Now let me just double click on her real quick. We've also added a 5-star rating system so we know who our good people and our bad people are. Now some of you might go, oh my gosh, I can't use that. They might see it. Look, if you've got bad employees and you're worried about their seeing, you aren't training, you aren't managing, right? If you got a 2 on your shift, shame on you. So bottom line is, they don't see it when they log in, but there is going to be a manager who leaves a laptop open in the middle of the restaurant, so they're going to see it. So once I've got that, I've got my master schedules. Now when I go to master schedules, know that I have a master schedule for every position I have in the restaurant. This is 100% customizable to your restaurant, your departments, your positions. So if I go to my line cooks, I can quickly see here all of my line cooks. Now as I scroll down, you can see what people can and cannot work, how many shifts they prefer to work, and so on. Now I'm going to go to my bartenders here because I'm going to show you I brought in a new person. So I'll go to my bartenders. This is my cheat sheet for writing next week's schedule like we talked about. And I'm going to find the employee John Booth. And John Booth. Oh, I'm sorry, Brandy Collins. I'm getting ahead of myself. Here's Brandy. So I'm going to double click on Brandy. Now here's the master schedule template. What can she work? Now this is customized, anything you need. So in our demo restaurant, we have 4 choices. Open can work any shift, including split shifts. This sets up our software to allow 2 clock-ins, 2 clock-outs. Off can't work at all. PM can work can only work the PM shift, AM the AM shift. You call this lunch, dinner, mid, I don't care what it is. But in this case, we've got to set it. Let's say she can work the AM on the first 3 days of the week, has class, cannot work on Thursday, Friday, but Saturday can work any shift, open. But because she's in school, she only wishes to work, look down at the bottom, 4 shifts, not 5. But oh, by the way, on Monday, has an 8 a.m. class. Please do not schedule before 10 a.m. This is sprinkling those little crumbs so anybody can write a schedule. Watch when I click save. Now here's Brandy's availability. AM, off, open, 4 shifts. But as I just put my mouse over the red outline box, it says there's information. I can quickly see, don't schedule at 8 a.m. as a 10 a.m. class, right? Or schedule at 10. So I've got my master schedule. Down below, I can put in what my staffing needs are for the AM and the PM. Sprinkling those things, everything we put in that system manually, all here. This system is set up that I could write your schedule from here in Phoenix, Arizona, if I had all the right information. I may not do it as well as you, but look, I know what people can and cannot work. Better yet, remember that seniority part? Brandy Collins, I'm going to drag and drop her all the way to the bottom of the schedule. Let me go, here we are. She's my least senior person, so she will show up in this order. So however you put people in the order you want them to appear, that's where we go. All right, there's my master schedule. Then I go to my schedules. I'm not going to go through scheduling in great detail, just a little overview. If I'm looking to schedule next week, which is the 10th, I've got all of my departments, so each manager be responsible for their own. I'm going to go to line cooks. And I'm going to double click on one. And so you can see the master schedule is still here on the left-hand side, what they can and cannot work, how many shifts they prefer to work. I've scheduled them in and on and off, so if I come in here, I can use a slider bar, I use a plus, minus symbol. Heck, I can even come in here and I can type if I wanted to. However I want to do it. You know what I can even do? I can come in here just for in case you're wondering, control copy, come up here, control paste. All right, real easy to do. Very simple. Now, they weren't working in the first place. I want to show you somebody who has open, and may have a split shift. So right here, I'm going to go to George Walters. And notice here on Saturday, it says open. There are 2 in times, 2 out times. The in time for the first shift, out time first. Second one is the second shift. Simple enough. So I schedule like I always do. And now I go to my allotment. Remember the labor allotment? That was the major piece we taught on today's webinar. Well, I'm going to double click in here and show you it's exactly the same. I've got line cooks, dishwashers, prep, regular hours, regular pay, overtime hours, overtime pay. I simply take that report and type it in. When I'm done, look what happens. I've got my average hourly wage is $7.46 in the bottom right-hand side. I know my labor cost for line employees. I know all the right information. My line cooks represent 36.87% of all hours worked at a $10.66 labor budget. Well, watch. As long as you've put this information in, you schedule like you always do, and you grab that labor summary report from your POS, type it in, all I do is come down the bottom left-hand side. Notice 25.5%, that's my budget, not including management. Not including taxes, benefits, insurance. It does include management. I click calculate. The system automatically takes management out. Goes through all the calculations I showed you manually, and bang, I know that I have 564 hours to schedule for my line cooks to be what? On budget. Unbelievable. Watch this. I schedule like I always do. I have my budget. I go to my schedule variance, and I'm going to go look at the 10th. Let me make this a little bit larger for you. And quickly, can you see? Look on the right-hand side, hours variance. I'm 9 hours over budget. Oh my gosh. Do you have to be a brain surgeon to figure out that I'm over budget? Forget about the dollars, right? The dollars are $94. You tell a chef or a kitchen manager, hey man, you're $94 over in labor. What the hell does that mean? Hey, you got 9 hours to carve from your schedule to be on budget. In fact, I don't even have to. The manager, the chef, the GM, whoever logs in, whatever department or position they're responsible for, they see they're 9 hours over. Now I go to something called my reverse labor system. I don't have the time, and I'm not going to bore you with all the wonderful information this has in it. I'm going to show you the basic gist of it. I've got sales, I've got hours worked, I've got so much stuff, but I'm going to come down here to my line cooks, and I'm going to find John Booth down here at the bottom. And what I'm going to do is notice here on Friday, he's working a split shift, a double, right? He's working two shifts, however you want to call it. But you know what? I double scheduled. I don't want him. I don't want him to be in there. Oh, let me hit delete, sorry. So now he's not working at all. I click save. The change will be made. Then I come up to the top and I click on this post schedule changes. What does it do? It's updating the schedule as we speak. So when I go into the schedule for the 10th, John Booth, go to schedules. Oh, wait 1 second. Yeah. Go to my schedules. I go to the 10th. Go to my line cooks. And, oh, what am I doing? John Booth, notice he's no longer working on Friday, right? All I've got to do is I can see the change was made, click off, save, I'm there. Now I'm going into the week on budget, right? Let's go look at the schedule variance very quickly. Go to the 10th, expand it, and look at this. I'm 0.1 over, 0.01. This is power. This is how you give your managers what the job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, by when. This is how you can hold people accountable, train them to your systems, make them simple and trainable. This is how you grow your company, because it's not, I don't worry about a single person knowing how to do something. I can train many. They learn a system, a process, a way, your way, and all that information is here. Oh, by the way, your employees can submit schedule requests, swap schedules, accept a shift, all online with manager's approval. We can copy schedules forward. There's a lot of other benefits in the software, but I just want to show you that. Now, let me conclude. Those of you who are still with me, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on here. Let me tell you about what we do. We're a restaurant training and coaching company that have software as the centerpiece of what we do. I've been helping independents for over 13 years. Put the same systems and tools that chains use without losing your independence. We love our guests, we love our employees, but we are going to do what they do, and that's make money. And over the years, we've developed online software, we've developed desktop software, we have coaching programs, seminars, workshops, training materials for every position. We literally have developed every system a franchise would have, a chain operator, and have made it available to you, the independent operator. And it happened over these years. Every product that ever was created is you, our members, told us what you needed. And then came our software, our online software called Smart Systems Pro. And it came about because our owners said to us, David, we love your stuff, but we're tired of putting the same number into 5 different spreadsheets. We're tired of management by accident or worse on purpose manipulating formulas. We don't even know we're looking at bad numbers. Then when it comes to recipe costing cards, holy crap, such heavy lifting. It takes me 40, 60 man hours. By the time I'm finished, price of cheese changes. They're wrong, right? Because every time you get a delivery, they've changed. So I've got to wait 3 months, 6 months, even a year or longer. Most important data in my business is out of date. I'm not going to update them for 3 months, 6 months, a year. So I said, David, I want to put my numbers in once, tie all of my systems together, and hold management accountable. And that's how Smart Systems Pro was born. It was built from the ground up for the independent operator, right? Just like you. What it's going to have in it is a daily manager log with cash controls, an online scheduling system with labor controls, a complete food and beverage system, including what? Recipe cards, ordering, inventory, prep, key item reports. Unbelievable. Everything you need, all in one place, and ultimately a budget variance on a weekly basis. But let me tell you, that software is incredible. It literally has helped our members go from running 65% prime cost, 60%, now down to 55, and even down to 30. It's incredible, but it's just a tool, which means you need help. You have unlimited training support from our team Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right? Bottom line is we're going to make sure that you have all the information you need, help, fingertips, we're there to help. Call anytime. But we're more than that. I told you that we are a restaurant training and coaching company. We have 2-day seminars 10 times a year at our office here free of charge to learn the software. Get your ass over here. Bring a laptop. Don't have one, let us know. We'll get you one. And we're going to teach you on screen, and then you're going to do it. In 2 days, you're going to be as close to an expert in the software as you can be. Trust me, we know you're not going to retain it all, but you'll remember. And then maybe you go into our online chat support or call us, and we're going to help you every step of the way. There's no extra hidden charges. You get direct access to me or one of my coaches, right? You get help with your business. We're going to help you put your budget together for you, with you. We're going to re-engineer your menu for you, with you. We're going to guide your management team. We're going to help you get through anything from a harassment claim to help with marketing, but for the most part, change your company culture, put the systems in place, get your life back, make more money. Included with it as well is you get all $8,000 for our training products, whether it's management training with operations manual, quick service, full service training systems, harassment prevention, employee handbooks, you name it, we've got it, it's yours. No additional cost. All $8,000 of that product, you can go on my website right now and buy it, or it's included in your membership. With that said, you get what? Workshops, seminars, live software trainings. What does that mean? It means I've got a 3-day workshop I do twice a year. It's the only thing you're going to pay me extra for, $375 for you and a guest instead of $1,500. Otherwise, we have 4 free 1-day seminars we put on either on labor cost or cost of goods sold. The next 2 days are a Smart System Pro training. We have monthly webinars for teaching, something I'll put on and talk about the importance of management or core values or how to use a system. We also have weekly webinars where we teach the software. That's above and beyond the unlimited training support by phone or by chat in a window. All of this can be yours with no sign-up fee, no setup fee, month to month. Heck, you can call me up and break up with me like we're dating in high school. David, it's me, it's not you. I don't care. If you're not going to use us, I don't want you paying for it. Because my goal is to get you at least 10 times return on your investment to make real change in your business. Now, understand this. I'm going to offer you something very, very special. For those of you on this webinar, you mention you're on this webinar, I'm going to give you our Smart Systems Pro Accelerator Program. And it's a $4,800 value, $800 a month, 6 months of one of our coaches, our training support coaches, meeting with you and your management team every single week. We're going to get on the phone, look at where you are, tell you what your next step are. That way you don't go, oh, I don't know where to go. Because it takes 6 months to a year to get everything in place. It really does. The beautiful part is as soon as you start to see results. But how about we ensure the shortest lane for success? How are we going to do that? We're going to hold your hand every single week. We'll meet with you and your management team. But here, I'm going to tell you something. Owners, you still got to hold your people accountable. They don't work for me. They work for you. So if they don't do something we ask, we're going to ask you to hold them accountable because they don't work for us. And understand, it takes leadership to push this through. It's not going to be easy. The systems are easy. Don't get me wrong. It's easy as hell. The challenge is getting people to do it, getting the buy-in, and sometimes that's your challenge. And unfortunately, some people may not make it, but you got to make that choice. Now, what's it cost? What is your investment, I should say? $347. No sign-up fee, no setup fee, month to month. What I want you to do right now, I'm going to answer your questions in just a second. Before I do, I want you to do 2 things. One, before you do anything else, subscribe to this channel. That way you can be up to date on the next webinars, on the next tips we put up twice a week, that you can stay in touch with me and I can help you and your management team. So hit subscribe now. Otherwise, I want you to call us at 1-877-457-6278, extension 106, and you're going to talk to Greg Sauerback, our solutions coach. And look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to take 15 minutes of your time. We're going to learn more about you and your business, tell you what we do, and see if there's a fit. Here's the deal. We're not a right fit for everybody. I just like to think we are. So you get to choose, right? Are we a right fit for you? And if we are, hey, you can decide then whether you want to see a demo or if you just want to sign up. Because I can tell you it's the best investment you're going to make in your business. I've seen it change people's lives. I've also seen people not ready for the change and go, I can't get my managers to do it. It's too hard. It's not too hard. You have to decide now's the time for you to change. That one person on your team is not going to stop you from changing your business, from taking your business to the next level, from making money. They get to make the choice. And don't get me wrong, I want everybody to come along the journey, but you got to lead this. So as you call, as you go online to therestaurantexpert.com and click on our solutions and sign up there, please know we're here for you. Now, right now, I want to answer some questions we have. Jenny has gathered some. I've got one right now, and that is, if you got any questions, type them in the comments box. Do me a favor, type them in the chat, and Jenny will grab them, and she's going to give them to me. But the first question I have right now is this. Let's see, Jeremy, Mr. Smith, what do you ask here? You're from New Zealand. Thank you very much. Good morning to you. What systems do you use for timesheet management for a chain restaurant? You're talking about timekeeping? If you're talking about timekeeping, I would tell you to use your point of sale system. So if you don't have a good point of sale system, it might be time to change. And I don't care which one it is. Quite honestly, it's all about service. But you should have a timekeeping module in the point of sale. That's what we're going to use. Otherwise, we'd use Smart Systems Pro for controlling your labor. Let me see if there's any other questions. Right now, let me look at the chat window. Okay, doesn't look like we have any. I may have covered and answered everybody's questions as best I could. I want to thank everybody. I'll give it one more chat here. Nope, we're good. I want to thank everybody for being on today's webinar. I hope you learned a lot about it. For those of you stuck around and saw how we easily do this in the software, I hope we can work with you very, very soon, because I can tell you, making that first step, that change, it can be a life changer. Thanks, everybody. This is David Scott Peters with therestaurantexpert.com. I hope that you'll pick up the phone. I'm looking. Greg's line is lit up right now, so I know at least one of you are. Call 1-877-457-6278 at extension 106, and we'll be happy to help. Thanks, everybody.